Congratulations, you played yourself.
2019 was an interesting year for Superman the character, Superman the myth, and Superman as he is seen by the movie-going audience. There's a certain exposure that thankfully is happening, and more individuals are finally speaking out in defense of both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, which doesn't just defend those movies, but the character of Superman himself. It seemingly isn't a day that goes by when Superman's very name and very existence in the DCEU, or as we now call them DC movies, is called into question or overly debated. The truth is, Superman doesn't belong to any of us. Superman is a character, characters evolve, and storylines are and should be allowed to challenge us if that is what the creator intends. But it seemingly can't be a praise of Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman, Henry Cavill's prior to Superman movies, or Henry Cavill being Superman in real life without a complaint or critique of his Superman not being enough, or the movie's quote not being as good unquote, which in reality is an excuse of people who want to say quote I like Henry Cavill but I dislike Zack Snyder because the internet told me to end quote, or I don't understand the differences in this movie compared to this set of superhero movies from another universe. Contrary to popular belief, I don't dislike Marvel. I do believe that it is possible to enjoy both. As I've said in times past, they had their similarities, but they certainly had their differences in characters and stories. It is okay to like one, just like it is okay to like both, just like it is okay to like Variant, Image, or other comic labels as well. Shout out to Spawn. These all have different characters and different stories. The same can be said for Superman. Tom Welling, Dean Cain, Henry Cavill, Christopher Reeve, and Brandon Routh have all played Superman and all had their respective differences, and that is fine. I for one don't expect Brandon Routh and Henry Cavill to sound or act the same as Superman, nor do I expect their take on Superman to be one and the same. But lo and behold, on the internet, the same sadly cannot be said for everyone. On one side, we had those who are uncomfortable and claim that films like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman are missing elements that they clearly have, and that Superman is too moody. But when you get Justice League with the creepy plastic smile that never went away, suddenly we miss the tone set in place by Man of Steel and BVS. Just ask popular YouTuber Chris Stuckman. When we got Superman Returns in '06, we claimed we wanted more action, and when we got that in 2013, we were apparently scared of the destruction, missing the joy and optimism, and apparently in need of a better Superman. I'm not saying that persons aren't allowed to have an opinion, but the truth about Superman is people don't know what they want with the character, and this includes WB. The truth of the matter is that Superman stirs a whiff of different, albeit strong emotions in different people, and that is a reason his character can't please everyone. To the person that is ready to say, well, I'm not saying he needs to be like Reeves, but Cavill just needs to be more like Superman, I say to you directly, what movies have you been watching? When Superman Returns debuted, many complained that the character was too boring and non-interesting, especially compared to the Nolan Bale Batman trilogy that began a year prior. If we should want characters to evolve on screen, not stay stagnant, and differentiate themselves in terms of story, then why is Superman's character the sudden exception? Why is any character for that matter? If we look at Superman in '78 as opposed to the Cavill Superman of now, they were both clearly presented with different circumstances and a different set of challenges. What Cavill and Reeve and Ralph and Welling all endured are completely different in terms of circumstances. When looking at Brandon Routh's Superman, the '06 Superman, which also featured Davy Jones in X-Men The Last Stand at the movies that summer, he too was featured with a different set of circumstances as well. He wasn't necessarily faced with the same circumstances as, say, Tom Mullins was in Season 8 of Smallville, Dean Cain in The Adventures of My Bright Colored Undies, and Henry Cavill's in Man of Steel. And even now in 2019, it isn't enough for someone to praise DC while simultaneously going at Man of Steel or BVS and talking about these movies more than the people like myself who genuinely like these movies. The beauty in all of this is that it has greatly and continues to expose many individuals when they start these debates and will continue to do so going forward. Superman does inspire hope and optimism in both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hope isn't always bright, colorful, and plastered with a smile every 30 seconds, and it damn sure isn't plastered with one like the one in Justice League. It's the belief that in dire situations like presented to us in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman that things can and will get better. Hence the monument, which states, if you seek his monument, look around you. We expect Superman to be perfect, not just on the big screen, but even in our reality. We want him to be one way and another way, even if the first way was the way we said was the wrong way. The biggest fear is not that Superman is all powerful. The biggest fear is that he's not going to be Superman as perhaps you think he should be. Superman, incidentally enough, shout out to Ray Fisher and my brother Bat Skeptic, can't be Superman because the world won't allow him to be. He can't progress because dare we ask questions, place him in real life situations, and approach the character with realism and or take Superman seriously, we're simply not satisfied. And if we bring back the elements we so often claim are missing, but in actuality aren't, then the character isn't as interesting, boring, needs action, and is fine, but is still in need of what we said we didn't want. Superman is a fascinating and dare I say polarizing figure due to his assumed role, not just as a hero and a popular one at that, but due to how, ironically enough, different he has been portrayed over the years. If, for example, Injustice 2 can support an evil Superman with no fuss, we must wonder why all of the constant bickering over Henry Cavill's Superman, who's just a guy trying to do the right thing in an imperfect society, who's trying to not only save humanity, but protect it at all costs. Brandon Routh's Superman served his purpose, much like Christopher Reeve, Tom Welling, and I suppose Dean Cain as well. But the truth is that Superman as a character is somewhat between a rock and a hard place. No person is wrong for liking Tom Welling, Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh, or Henry Cavill. But Superman as a character has to grow, has to evolve, and can go beyond the birthright, beyond Earth 1, beyond All-Star, and beyond even the Bendis run, thankfully. Every creator is going to have a different vision, but the character is still just that. And Superman is ultimately no different. But thanks to the power of social media and studios who are at the bending knee of Rotten Tomatoes, it's no wonder why Superman on the big screen has had trouble continuing to soar. Zack Snyder had an epic plan for Superman that is called quote-unquote Too Dark and Without Joy. The CW has a 180-pound lifeguard, Tyler Hoechlin, playing Superman on the Supergirl series that will inevitably remind folks of Reeve and will be considered boring. There's seemingly no way to win. James Mangold, the director of Logan, had this to say on Twitter as part of one of his epic rants, and I quote, "At the point when work writing and directing big franchises has become the emotionally loaded equivalent of writing a new chapter of the Bible with the probable danger of being stoned and called a blasphemer, then a lot of bolder minds are going to leave these films to hacks and corkboards." And incidentally enough, he's right. Studios want money first and foremost, but are and have been running scared due to fandoms not knowing what they want for movies, or just playing it plain safe. Just ask Jay Oliva. The consequence of movie fandoms going at directors and people involved in these franchises violently will inevitably steer big-name directors away from these productions, and Superman is no different. I hope we continue to have Henry Cavill on board as Superman, and I, for one, don't blame Christopher McQuarrie for staying away from franchises that aren't Mission Impossible, because I can only imagine how volcanic his Twitter mentions would be if he made a Superman film for WB that dared go outside of the norm, even if it did feature Hal Jordan. It's a miracle that Joker grossed $1 billion with how much insanely laughable controversy surrounded it. Part of this is inevitably like what I like to call the MCU effect. The MCU has given the audience safe, formulaic movies that hardly, if ever, go outside their norm, and also had the benefit of coming way before the DCEU, or what we now call DC movies, with a side of DC BBC or DC Black when it was ever formed. A large portion of the movie-going audience doesn't read comics, and even more take critical reception or critical reviews as gospel truth. So all of these things didn't help when movies like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Joker, or Watchmen released. It's just that there are passionate fans of these movies everywhere, and there are even individuals who are a little more open-minded and don't necessarily take reviews as their opinion. But anyways, some final thoughts on Superman. 2019 proved that Henry Cavill is very eager to continue soaring as Kal-El, that there are people out there that don't know how they want Superman to be portrayed, and that truthfully, there's nothing anyone can do about it. I just hope WB and Sarnoff and HBO Max continue to let Henry Cavill soar after the Snyder Cut, and that they let filmmakers do his or her thing, because after all, that's what Toby Emmerich promised. WB has an epic storyline with Superman's involvement that would have been talked about for years and years to come, much like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, and would have brought in enormous dividends. But listening to the wrong people trying to replicate Marvel's success by sabotaging movies and disrespecting filmmakers and allowing the wrong people to have the final say-so gave WB their lowest grossing DCU movie and disrespected their fans. Superman means a lot to people everywhere, and Henry Cavill deserves more. Open-mindedness, patience, and curiosity are a virtue, yet with Superman, we seemingly want everything spoon-fed to us all at once.